Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. Hi there guys, it's Adam Martyn here, and today we're going to be talking about You've Been Framed. Now, if you live in the UK, I'm sure you're familiar with that name, You've Been Framed. It's been sort of a staple on ITV for over 3 decades now, but unfortunately, for anyone who still watches this programme, I have some sad news, because You've Been Framed has been cancelled by ITV. After 33 years. That's right, the show that began all the way back in 1990 is finally coming to an end. And I've got to be honest, whilst this is sad news, I watched You've Been Framed for quite a time, but I'm honestly surprised that, I didn't even know the show was still on, let's put it that way, and I'm surprised this cancellation order didn't come 5, 10, even 15 years ago, to be honest. But there's been several articles written about this already. Let's just take a look at this one. This particular one is from The Independent, and it goes like this. You've Been Framed has reportedly been axed after 33 years on the air. The long-running ITV show, which compiled home videos of accidents and funny moments, was launched in 1990. Jeremy Beadle was the original narrator, and some would say still the best narrator. Most recently, comedian Harry Hill was serving as presenter, fronting 341 of 701 episodes. I honestly didn't know Harry did that much. Harry Hill was an interesting personality, wasn't he? He sort of blew up on TV, when was it, the late 90s, early 2000s. I think TV Burp, Harry Hill's TV Burp was probably the most iconic program that he was actually known for, and I did, us as a family, we did watch it for a time. I think Harry Hill's comedy I sort of was into when I was between the ages of, 7 and 10, but beyond that, it just didn't really appeal to me that much anymore, I guess, and there's nothing wrong with that, people grow out of comedy styles all the time, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a Harry Hill fan. Respect what he's done, but fan's a bit of a strong word. Yeah, Harry Hill, man. Let's just have a look at what some of his career was. He got his break in Harry Hill's Fruit Corner on BBC Radio 4. And then you had things like the Harry Hill TV series that was on Channel 4 from 97 to 2000. There you go, Harry Hill's TV Burp, which was from 2001 to 2012. Good God, honestly, listen, I didn't know it had gone on for that long. I think I remember it ending in 2012, but starting in 2001? Really? That's mad. Literally mad. I didn't know it had gone on that long. Fair play, though. Obviously, You've Been Frames there. The Harry Hill movie. Oh, God. I remember. Oh, do you know what? I remember that coming out 2013. I never saw it, but look, it had some big names. Matt Lucas, Julie Walters, Johnny Vegas, Sheridan Smith, Simon Bird, Jim Broadbent, Mark Wootton. Man knew his contacts. What's he done? Stars in Their Eyes, that must have been a revival. Harry Hill's Tea Time, what's that? Spoof Comedy Kitchen. Alien Fun Capsule, God knows what that is. ITV again. Harry Hill's World of TV. Is that basically, TV burp style thing? That only seems to have lasted for 1 season. The man's done a lot. The man's done a lot in his career, but I'd say You've Been Framed is probably second to Harry Hill's TV burp as to what he's remembered for, debatably. Apparently the series once attracted 15 million people in its prime, and it's coming to an end. I imagine that must have been in the 1990s. If You've Been Framed was getting 15 million viewers, even in the 2000s, I would have been very shocked. An insider, I'm assuming from the production team, told the publication that the fact that You've Been Framed has been shelved is a sad sign of the times. It's a different world to Jeremy Beadle's heyday. Why would viewers tune into a show featuring funny videos when they could see the same sort of thing on the internet? That is the big question, and this is what I mean about I'm surprised the show hadn't been cancelled already. With the rise of YouTube, You've Been Framed, you could make the argument could have or should have been axed years ago, because when YouTube debuted, was it 2005? But I really want to say it was 2007, 8 when YouTube really boomed and people realized they could watch these sort of funny clips on the internet. Whereas, back in the 90s when there was no internet, I can imagine that's when You've Been Framed was at the peak of its powers, the peak of its popularity, because you could tune in for half an hour to see people, their home videos filmed on their grainy VHS cameras or whatever, fails or funny moments and stuff like that. You've Been Framed really was the precursor to all that internet stuff, if you like. And I know there's different versions around the world. Any Americans watching, you guys had America's Funniest Home Movies, right? I believe that's a similar sort of concept. So the show absolutely worked in its peak. The 1990s was probably the perfect time for it. But by the late first decade of the 2000s, I'm talking 2008, 2009, I'd argue the concept had sort of died a death. The insider continues by saying silly clips are hugely popular on social media, and the right video can go viral. There's a thrill in achieving that, even though you don't earn the £250 fee which you've been framed paid to contributors. Yeah, that was absolutely right. One thing in You've Been Framed, they always offered like a cash incentive for submitting your embarrassing moments, namely £250. And, you know, some would snub that as not being a lot of money at all. But listen, £250, especially nowadays, can go a long way for a lot of people. I want to doubt the validity of that quote, though. You know, you don't earn that. It depends. You know, YouTube, if you have a really viral video and provided you monetize, you can easily make over £250 from one video that gets, like, I don't know, millions upon millions of views. With things like TikTok and stuff like that, I believe it's a different story. You know, I know it's shorter content, and there are people who've got, like, millions of followers on TikTok who don't necessarily earn a living from it because the ad rates are different or whatever. So I do get this argument, but I would still say it's not impossible to achieve £250 or over £250 via a viral video nowadays. There have been different presenters, of course, over the years. They mentioned Jeremy Beadle, who was the first, and again, some would say still the most iconic presenter. You've also had Lisa Riley, Jonathan Wilkes, and of course, Harry Hill. I guess a sign of it is that ITV has removed the submission portal for You've Been Framed from its website, which means you'll be no longer able to submit videos. And yeah, you know, it is a shame, because I think if you're in the UK over the last 30 years, I'm sure we've all tuned into You've Been Framed at least once over the past 33 years. I want to say the time I watched it was sort of from between, or if I could put a date on it, between like maybe 2003 to 2008, like, you know, on and off. And it was great. You know, it's really funny watching these embarrassing moments of all kinds and stuff. But the minute YouTube came in and you had those early channels like, you know, the like Fail Army and stuff like that, you know, you could watch these videos on demand at any time. There wasn't the need to sort of wait every week or wait whenever it was on to block out that specific time. Do you know what I mean? So I feel YouTube really did kill off the novelty of You've Been Framed. But I mean, again, fair play to the show. It staggered on for a good 15 years, probably longer than it should. So that's to be commended. I mean, this is also the latest cancellation from ITV amongst a bunch of others. We recently talked about in one of our more recent videos about other cancellations happening at not just ITV, but the BBC as well. So ITV programmes like The Masked Dancer or The Larkins, and then for the BBC you had like I Can See Your Voice is being cancelled, other programmes such as Catch Point and Still Open All Hours, which did surprise a lot of people, but again, there were numerous factors that contributed into that. And if you didn't see that video, well, not only do I recommend it, but some would say, well, why cancel You've Been Framed? Like, it's surely a relatively inexpensive show. Yes, you're paying contributors a fee, but in TV, £250 isn't necessarily a lot of money when it comes to TV. It can be a lot of money to regular people, but for the TV industry, I'd argue that's not too much. So, you know, surely it's relatively inexpensive. You're using user-generated content, so you're not having to pay for, like, the production costs. I know that there'll be, like, you know, researchers, there'll be staffers, it might even have a production office, you know, where they design, like, the little, like, you know, the interlude bits where it shows, like, the grabber grabbing a VHS tape or a disc or whatever, you know, that sort of stuff. There'll be a budget for that as well, and obviously Harry Hill will get paid a fee for his hosting. I can't imagine his fee is one of the... I know he's been around a long time, but I just can't imagine that his fee is necessarily one of the highest in TV. I don't mean that as a dig, but do you know what I mean? He's not necessarily like at the forefront maybe like he used to be. Just I guess as like a final epilogue to this, TV Zone, which is another great website you should check out, it says that the production has ceased on the programme, so no more episodes are being commissioned. All episodes which are to be repeated on ITV2 in the coming months will have the contact information removed. So again, you won't be able to sort of do any of your submissions, and the show's official website and contact form have also closed. So this has been pretty swift. You know, they've not like allowed like any time, not for like one more swan song. It's done. It's over. And yes, there are still repeats. And I've got to be honest, a lot of comments I saw on like Twitter and stuff like that when they announced the news that You've Been Framed was ending was exactly that. You know, comments being like, oh, I literally thought it was just repeats at this point. You know, they didn't think the new episodes were still being made. So I think when a show reaches that point, when you literally think it is just repeats and no new episodes, I think that's probably a sure sign that you should wrap up. However, it does mention you can watch previous episodes of You've Been Framed on ITVX. Although it says that, although I've just literally typed in You've Been Framed into the ITVX search bar, and I'm telling you nothing has come up. So maybe it means like using the live catch-up feature or something like that. But I want to question the validity of that statement. And to be honest, let's be real, towards the end of You've Been Framed, some of the clips they were showing on TV had already gone like viral across the internet as like memes or whatever. So the rewatchability of You've Been Framed I would call into question, because yes, it is rewatchable obviously if you want to see these clips, but I'm telling you, especially some of the new episodes, a lot of them you will just find in various YouTube compilations and stuff like that. But you know, I'm not slandering it. If you want to watch old episodes of You've Been Framed, they're out there somewhere, like a lot of media from that time period. But what do you think about this news? I know, like, with some of the shows that have been cancelled recently, the general consensus has been, oh, you know, finally, and it's about time. But You've Been Framed feels like a bit of a different story. Even though you could argue the format was tired and it didn't really hold much relevance anymore, there is still a lot of people who remember You've Been Framed, who have, like, a special place for it in their heart because they watched it periodically at some point in their life. So let me know down in the comments below, what are your thoughts on You've Been Framed being axed? Do you think this is a good decision? Do you think it should have happened earlier? Or are you a bit gutted? Do you think You've Been Framed could have gone on and on and on? And if you think it could have gone on, let me know. What would they have had to change? Because every good program has to change and evolve, so let me know what you think. If you enjoyed this video though, please do leave a like on it. It really does help us out, and subscribe to us here at the AMTV network. We would love to have you aboard. We have 2 other channels as well, one focused around music, and now that's what I call music specifically, and one focused on Doctor Who. So we'd love for you to go over there and subscribe to us on those channels. But in the meantime, I've been Adam Martyn here from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Hooks Media, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, The Broken Kitsumanoid, Globe of Reviews, Derek Chambers, Sean Knock, DSTV New Zealand, and Dord Khan, our AMTV staff members.